likes leaders to be as brief as possible when introducing your documents to maximize the time available. I see, yeah, we have Dilma asking. Okay, Dilma, you have the floor.
At the moment, we can't.
About that. Good morning, good day, good afternoon to everyone. Now that we've set the correspondence group, I was wondering that taking into account the current circumstances in order to make as much progress as possible intersessionally, we suggest that the coordinator of the correspondence group should be given the flexibility to convene virtual meetings using a suitable platform in order to consider any terms of reference as necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilma. Then I invite now Norway to introduce document PPR-8/7. Dilma, Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and a very good day to all. To start with, the coordinator would like to thank all the participating members of the correspondence group for their good work and their great team spirit. The group has prepared initial draft amendments to MARPO Annex 4, introducing provisions for record keeping and measures to control the lifetime performance, switch treatment plans, and also started the work on the associated guidelines. The amendments in MARPO Annex 4 include provisions on discharge of sewage sludge, record keeping of Annex 4 related discharges in a sewage record book, a preparation of a sewage management plan, and harmonizing the survey regime with other annexes or conventions. In the surveys, newly installed sewage treatment plants like those on new ships or if retrofitted on existing ships should be subject to a commissioning test, which would be a part of the initial survey. Furthermore, the compliant performance of the installed sewage treatment plants would have to be documented or proven through a performance test in conjunction with the renewal surveys. The execution of the onboard tests would be enabled through the requirement for a sampling point. New provisions would also include a provision for indicative monitoring of effluent. New ships would have to be equipped with a holding tank for sewage sludge. Annex 4 has also got 2 new appendices. One contains an overview of the tested effluent standards, and the other one is the form of sewage record book. Some provisions, like those concerning the discharge and require the mentioned amendments will of course apply to new ships. Although the application of certain amendments could be extended to existing ships, it is necessary to emphasize that the group has not yet concluded on that. This will have to be discussed in the work ahead. As mentioned earlier, the revision of the 2012 guidelines has been initiated, although the MARPO Annex 4 amendments have not been completed. This is due to an interrelation of the proposed draft provisions with the issues in the associated guidelines. Hence, certain proposed draft provisions may need to be revisited during or after the revision of the guidelines. Since the revision work still requires a lot to be done, the report also provides draft terms of reference for the further work. Finally, once again, I would like to express my appreciation to all of the members that have contributed and are planning to contribute to this work ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Norway. I'd like to thank the correspondence group and in particular the lead country, Norway, for your hard work. Thank you very much for that. I invite China to introduce document PPR-8/7/1, PPR-8/7/2, and PPR-8/7/3. Please, China, you have the floor.
If the floor, there we go, I've got it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This delegation would like to express our appreciation to all the members who participated in the correspondence group. Norway presented the correspondence group report, introduced the MAPO Annex Amendment and other amendments progress. And the report also listed the further questions to be considered. MAPO Annex 4 stated that survey certification as well as other provisions. It also added the sewage management plan as well as the requirement on recording. These amendments is beneficial to the protection of the ocean and prevent the pollution from effluents from ships. The Chinese side generally supports the report as well as the further action plan. As for the performance requirement, the report has listed detailed explanations. We also found out that the sewage treatment plant is also usually installed with a discharge pipe. This extra pipe can lead the effluent into other tanks in order to prevent the ship from breaking the laws. Because of the overflow is complicated, this complicatedness can cause the mixture of different pollutants. There is a certain risk of pollution. At present, there is no provision in the convention regulating specific requirements on overflow. In order to prevent the pollution risks of overflow, Chinese side recommends to add a specific regulatory requirement on overflow, including a specific designation of storage tanks, as well as the specific procedures to deal with record of overflow of sewage is also to be recorded. So the overcharge, overflow, and the dealing with overflow can be recorded. We also recommend to specify the functionality of the storage tank. The tank can be used to store the overflow. We're inviting the subcommittee to consider our proposal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, China. I invite now the Islamic Republic of Iran to introduce document PPR-8/7/4. Iran, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good day, everyone. Am I heard well? Good. I'm pleased to introduce document PPR-8/7/4, which explains the results of a study into a sewage treatment plant, and I take your advice, Chair, to introduce it briefly. This experimental study was conducted to explore the effectiveness of sewage treatment plants installed on board ships, with due regard to a previous document submitted by the Netherlands in April 2017, containing in document MEPC 71 in 22. All sewage treatment plants installed on ships need to be in compliance with resolution MEPC 2 6 and MEPC 15955 and MEPC 22764. And all performance tests should be conducted before being approved by the flag state of the ships or by classification societies, while no additional surveys are needed during the service of the ship. This document provides additional information about the performance of sewage treatment plants of 50 different ships based on laboratory results and analysis of samples that were taken from ships in 2019 in Imam Khomeini port of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Exploring the laboratory results of 50 different tests showed that the treated sewage in the majority of the ships using type-approved sewage treatment plants did not comply with the minimum relevant requirements of MARPOL. In this study, 6 different factors of treated sewage were measured, including coliform total suspended solids, 5-day biochemical oxygen demand, chlorine, pH, and chemical oxygen demand based on the allowed MEPC 15955 and MEPC 22764. After analyzing the laboratory results provided in the annex, the hypothesis about the malfunction of sewage treatment plants was confirmed as a considerable number of samples did not comply with the related standard requirements. Based on this investigation on the performance of sewage treatment plants, the following major causes of system malfunctioning was known to this delegation, including insufficient performance of periodical maintenance of systems by the crew, because it is an unpleasant job, lack of familiarity of crew with the system, ineffectiveness of approval procedures requirements in the long run, because classification societies are merely required to test the system before its installation on board ships, and 4, the absence of measuring equipment before discharging the effluent into the sea. As a result of this study, some recommendations are made, which is shown in paragraph 7 of the documents. The subcommittee is invited to consider the recommendations mentioned in paragraph 7 and take action as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Islamic Republic of Iran. Now I invite Norway to introduce document PPR-8/7/5 and the PPR-8/7/6. Norway, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This document PPR-8/7/5 provides the rationale for additional draft amendments to the 2012 guidelines, while document PPR-8/7/6 reflects the rationale with the concrete amendment proposal. Norway would like to present both documents at the same time, which you have indicated. The documents reason for and propose several additional draft amendments to 2012 guidelines. This includes developing a separate section addressing the type approval on board for transparency reasons. The documents also outline draft schemes for commissioning and on-board performance testing, which is based on the Alaska regulations for sewage discharge. Furthermore, the documents outline a draft scheme for on-board indicative monitoring, where turbidity could be used as a parameter indicating the STP's functionality. Norway is of the view that a more consistent and reliable type approval testing could be achieved through the recognized testing bodies, and the information of such bodies could be collected in a database. Norway believes that the proposed additional draft amendments to the 2012 guidelines will contribute to better progress in the further work. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Norway. I am not sure about the asking of China. They are asking to talk. I don't know if we continue with the introductions or China wants to talk. Please, China, would you have the floor now? All comments at the end.
东方 one.
China would like to. The sound is inaudible temporarily. The correspondence group requires that discharge of effluent should be discharged.
I'd like to talk to you that our intention is to have the comments only after all documents be introduced. If you have something to talk about the introduction of your document that I've mentioned before, it's okay. But if you will comment on the other subject, it would be better to wait to the end of all introduction. I don't know if it's clear for you, because you told me that you lost during some time the sound.
Sorry, Chairman, could you? For supplement. We didn't finish our introduction. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. And finalize your introduction. Sorry for that.
Thank you. I will use Chinese. 下面我介绍一下 PPR 发照。
Now I want to introduce 8/7/2. In our study, we found that if there are no extra nutrients for stored effluent, organisms in stored effluent will die during the metabolism, which may lead to the sharp decrease of all parameters. Though the situation of stored effluent on board is much more complicated than in this experiment, the rule of microbial metabolism is the same. Therefore, China proposes to further study the discharge requirement for stored effluent in the amendments. Thank you. Now, we would like to introduce document PPR-8/7/3. First of all, we would like to thank the PPR subcommittee for its work on the amendment to MARPO Annex 4 and the correspondence group for its efforts in drafting the amendment. China generally supports the comprehensive revision of MARPO Annex 4. However, we suggest that in the process of revision, the pressure on ship owners during the recovery of shipping industry and the increasing workload on seafarers should be fully considered in advance. China recommends that first, when drafting the amendments, due consideration should be given to the factors adding to crew workload, and electronic recording should be introduced to reduce paperwork for sewage recording as much as possible. Furthermore, similar consideration should be given during the consequential amendments to relevant port state control procedures. And comments from associated seafarer organizations should be obtained and considered. Second, considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the shipping industry, we suggest we should conduct further analysis on the cost-effectiveness ratio of the amendments, with a view to providing favorable environment for the recovery of shipping industry, especially the cruise industry, and, when necessary, to postpone the entry into force of the amendments for the cruise industry. Thank you, Chair. That's the end of our introduction.
Thank you, China. Now I would like to invite one of the co-sponsors, Friends of the Earth, WWF, Pacific Environment, or CSC, to introduce document
Yung
PPR-8.
shooting, nasa yung sinasabi ko sa yung ano, ang day. Wala ka rin.
SC,
Isip mo pa ako. Huwag ka